Argentina is back in the World Cup final. The Major League Baseball All-Star Game failed to impress, and everyone online is auditioning for their Netflix documentary debut. Welcome to the Roundtable. My name is Irene Tucker, and I'll be filling the very big shoes of my dear friend Evan Barber today as your host. And joining me is Tobin Heim and Kate Watson. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. This week's resource of the week is a new conversation starter on our YouTube channel. If you've looked around recently and noticed that it seems preteen girls look, act, and dress older than maybe you did when you were their age, you're not alone. In the conversation starter, Jenna, our very own Jenna Mindell, asked this question: where'd the tweens go? Kate, can you tell us a little bit more about this and maybe what Jenna found out?
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like the 12-year-old girls that I talk to are the most sophisticated people I've ever met. I don't know what that says about me, but I also think it says something about them. And Jenna had noticed this herself and decided to do some research for our latest episode on our YouTube channel. So the latest episode of The Conversation Starter is kind of about how there aren't a lot of spaces where 12-year-olds, particularly girls, can safely occupy and be a little bit cringe and be a little bit awkward. And she kind of dives into why this might be, and also as parents, what we should know and how we can support particularly the girls that are going through the adolescent phase. You know, I found it very reassuring as I watched the video. Quite honestly, I felt encouraged by the research that Jenna did, but I also felt like it was so important to know. So I hope that everybody listening will check it out.
Yeah, totally. It feels like tweens are skipping tweenhood and going straight from being like 8, 9 to high schooler.
So when I was a middle school kid, people would talk about your awkward age. And like everybody had an awkward age. And mostly it was middle school, junior high years. And it just feels like that awkward age no longer exists. And as I, read the Culture Translator yesterday, I was like, this is really interesting. I wonder what it means for kids not to have a space where they can dress funny and have braces and, do all of these awkward things that we did as kids. They just jump right into, you've got to have your skincare routine. You've got to have the best wardrobe. You've got to be articulate. You've got to be funny. You've got to be beautiful. And what are kids missing today? Maybe nothing, but it feels to me like there was some value to having a time where you were just kind of goofy.
Yeah, I was wearing Garanimals. Do you remember those?
I loved Garanimals.
Like you get the mix and match versions, and now
I wonder if people know what that is? For people that don't know, Garanimals was a clothing line that had animal symbols on it, and so you put the tiger shirt with the tiger pants, or you put the elephant shirt with the elephant pants, and the really cool kids would mix and match.
Mix and match,
so you'd
baby.
Go elephant shirt, tiger pants.
Zebra pants, whatever it was. Yeah, I mean, that was my early tweens, so it's crazy to think that they're shopping at Sephora and...
Because that was Kmart.
Zara.
We did a lot of Kmart when I was in my awkward phase.
Yeah, Kmart.
But now, the wardrobes. I wonder, maybe you can talk to this, Irene, the filters that make these 12-year-old kids look like adults.
I know.
I saw a video the other day where a girl turned her filters off and she looked like a goofy kid. But when the filters were on, she looked like a 18 or 19-year-old, right? And she's 12.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the internet itself can be so deceptive. It's hard. It's just hard. But they're learning how to do their makeup in ways that are far beyond 10, 11, 12. So I don't know. What do you, as having a daughter, does it cause any fear for you, Kate, or do you feel pretty confident?
You know what? Watching the video, I didn't feel necessarily fear for my daughter, but that's because she's 5 and also because I'm perhaps naive. I did think about how much my daughter and I enjoy getting ready together, how that's sort of become a ritual for us recently as she approaches 5. And I wondered how long it would be before she looked at the way I did my makeup or whatever and said, like, wow, Mom, like, you need some work on your technique, or like you need some better tools or something like that. If anything, I just feel like my daughter's coming for me. You know what I
for
mean?
sure. I used to, when I play around with my daughter's makeup and like, when I taught her how to do it, now she like, when I have her come over, it's like a makeup artist like comes over and I'm like, wow. But it's pretty crazy. But check out our conversation starter on our YouTube channel and we'll link it also in the podcast, right? Perfect. First thing from the top 3. The World Cup final is this weekend with Spain and Argentina fighting for the championship and the ultimate national bragging rights. But the bigger story isn't just who wins. It's how young people are engaging with sports in a completely different way through memes, influencers, and player personalities as much as the game itself. Tobin, tell us what's going on here.
I mean, the World Cup is kind of a big deal. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but it's everywhere. Man, the Argentina-England game yesterday was amazing. I think one of the things that's happening is those personalities are shining through. You've got Erling Haaland from Norway.
Oh my gosh,
he's
he's fun.
Huge personality. He got off the Norway team plane in Norway yesterday carrying
a raccoon
holding a vodka bottle, a stuffed raccoon holding a vodka, and not like a stuffed animal raccoon, but like a real actual taxidermied raccoon holding a vodka bottle. And I was like, and then in his other hand, he has, like an Hermes bag that costs $50,000. Like, this is really interesting. And then obviously for Argentina, Lionel Messi is their star player and is currently the holder of the most goals during the World Cup. So he may win what's called the Golden Boot. I don't know if you've heard of the Golden Boot.
I have heard of the Golden Boot.
But the player who scores the most goals during the World Cup receives, apparently, a Golden Boot.
So is it like a trophy or is it a real?
I believe it's a trophy. I believe there's a trophy associated with it. I have not seen the trophy, so I can't attest to that. But it's, you get these star players and the personalities, and they're in the commercials during the game. Their social games are on point. I think it's a cool way for kids to get drawn into like this big world event. And I think especially kids in the U.S. where soccer may not have the same prestige as it does in other places around the world. But, obviously socials everywhere. But the TV coverage has really dominated, right?
Yeah.
Like
right.
I expected to see more of it online. And I just didn't see a ton of that.
Mm-hmm.
The players that are kind of the marquee players, their social games are just impeccable, right?
Yeah.
Like whoever's managing that for them is doing an amazing job. And the hope is maybe that pulls some kids into actually enjoying
the sport,
the sport of soccer, and that continues to be a big deal. And then, the other thing that I think accompanies every big sporting event or every big cultural event is the controversy around it. People saying, "Oh, FIFA's corrupt." That the organization that hosts it is kind of picking who's going to be in the finals, and the refs are calling the games poorly so that those teams can win. And so you've got all of that kind of noise in the background happening at the same time. But man, it's a hoot. I mean, it's crazy to see the game yesterday played in Atlanta, and there's like 60,000 Argentinians in the stands.
Incredible.
I mean, it is such a cultural experience. And I think for people that have been following the World Cup, like Boston ran out of beer when,
that's crazy.
The Scottish team was playing back there, and they literally had a beer shortage.
That's wild.
And they're like trucking in cases of beer because they got to take care of the Scottish fans. Like, this is different, right? Like this is a different world.
That's cool.
And it's for me, it's been really fun just to see the cultures come together.
I think that I don't watch a lot of sports, but the one thing that I do love about sports is the way it unites people and like this camaraderie and then this element now of like social media personalities, and you kind of get to see them as more than athletes, as personalities, like who brings a taxidermied raccoon home. Like that is so fun. You're like, I want to know that person. I think that's a really cool part about it. What do you think, Kate?
Well, I was really enjoying watching my kids, who are usually really into baseball, usually really into hockey, overnight develop so much obsession with soccer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I couldn't believe how instantly it turned on. And I have to think it has to do with the fact that everyone in New York is wearing soccer jerseys around. Like, everyone is wearing their different, maybe country of origin, even if they are native to the United States. If they have history in another country, that's the jersey that they're wearing. My 9-year-old became really obsessed with Messi, like really obsessed. And yesterday, as he was watching the game, he's sitting there wearing a Manchester United jersey, which I don't even know where it came from. Like, I don't know where he got it. And he was just opining on the game. Like, he was like holding court on the rules of soccer. And I was like, dude, you call it soccer. You don't even call it football. I don't know if you deserve to like occupy this place. But it was just so much fun to watch together as a family. And the cool thing about soccer is, you know, you can't really get it wrong. Like, you cheer when a goal is scored, and it's really easy to just like hop in and get into it.
That is so real.
I just love the energy. I really do.
Yeah, I love that. Well, what do you think would be a good conversation starter, Tobin, if you wanted to talk about sports or soccer or the World Cup? How would you chat about it with your team?
I would start with, what do you think it's all about that cultures come together around a thing like this? You know, everybody's cultures are different. You've got Latin America and Central America and North America and Europe and Asia and the Middle East, and all of these people unite around this one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would be interested for a kid to maybe have the conversation around, like, what does it mean when people from all over the world can get together around one cool event, right? And what does that look like to you when you see Argentinian and British fans hugging each other after a game? You know,
totally.
it's just kind of a cool spot to be in, where there's so much that divides us and there's so much that divide us from other countries. And so just to be able to have a conversation around something wholesome and, you know, how cool it is that people can still actually get along and get together and enjoy something as a world rather than being divided by it.
I love that. Love that. Next up, the American League dominated in the All-Star game, and slugger Jordan Walker won the Home Run Derby as the MLB hosted its All-Star competitions in Philadelphia. However, the Home Run Derby was criticized, not for player enthusiasm, but for clumsy Netflix paywalled production. Kate, your family is also pretty into baseball. Can you tell us what happened?
Okay, so it was the day of the Home Run Derby, and there were a lot of disgruntled MLB fans who discovered somehow only on that day that they would have to have Netflix to watch the Home Run Derby. So this was a first. You know, they're frustrated to begin with if they don't have Netflix. But then once the Home Run Derby got started, it was pretty clear that Netflix hadn't really thought about the difference between streaming a live home run derby versus streaming other types of live events. And this has kind of been par for the course for them as they've tried to get into streaming fights and live comedy shows and a whole host of other things that they're trying to stream live. They just don't have the broadcast production workflow down. So it was at the point where the final hit of the Home Run Derby, where Jordan Walker won, the camera wasn't even on him when he got the hit. Like,
that
it cut away
so
to just some
insane.
random commentary. So you're kind of sitting there like, who won? And then there was also this like odd sort of YouTube-esque sponsored by T-Mobile vibe going. Like, every once in a while they'd be like, and here's a magenta colored ball sponsored by T-Mobile. And then you see the player who's been like trying to hit normal white baseballs, like struggling to see the magenta ball, and it was worth like an extra point and nobody could see it. Like, it really felt like a Bush League production. And I think that if you are a baseball fan, the Home Run Derby is one of the most fun things to watch all year. You know, my family, we sit around, we make a bracket, we kind of guess together and bet on who's going to win.
Yeah.
And so for my kids to be a little bit disappointed by the production, and trust me, their standards are low. They like to watch YouTube. Was, I was a bit taken aback.
Yeah. Man, so in years past, it has not streamed in that way before. And this was just kind of like a left field.
Well, I think usually Fox owns the rights.
I was like, wait, am I going to make
it was out of left field. Very nice. Very nice.
For a second there, I was like, wait, am I doing the right sport? Because I'll be known to say something wrong when it comes to sports.
Yes, yeah. Lest our listeners be concerned that we are becoming a sports podcast. That is obviously not the case. Sports for moms. But seriously, I think usually Fox owns the rights to broadcasting the Home Run Derby because they still own the rights to the All-Star Game. And the All-Star Game broadcast was better, but a lot of big stars were hurt or didn't participate. So like that was kind of boring too. And it was just so far overshadowed by how excited everybody is about the World Cup. I'm sure that the commissioner of baseball is sitting there like pretty disappointed.
Yeah, man. How about you, Tobin? Did you watch it or?
I did not. I feel like there's a couple of things that are working against it right now. One is, if you look at traditional broadcast sports, like stuff on ESPN, stuff on the networks, like a lot of people that are producing those shows love the sport that they're covering, right? They've been, calling baseball games for 30 years or 40 years, and the cameramen are going from one major league game to another, and they know the players and they love the sport and they know where to point the camera at the right time to get the most out of it. And you've got people behind the scenes that are producing those sporting events that love what they're doing and love the sport. And from what I've heard, it sounds like Netflix just wanted the spectacle of it, but that they didn't really love the sport and they didn't know where to point the camera, which is a sad deal. And I know that their ratings, continue to drop. And I had a conversation with somebody the other day about when I was a kid, like you played baseball even if you didn't play baseball, right? Like you'd go to the park or an empty lot, and you'd throw a ball around, and then later that afternoon you'd play football, and the next day you'd play soccer, and so you had an affiliation or an attachment to a sport that, because sports for kids has specialized so much, that I don't think it draws the same audience anymore. Because you've got kids that are playing travel ball, you've got kids that are playing high school ball. But it's not like kids are going outside to throw a baseball around as much.
Yeah, I would say that's true.
And I think that's true for all professional sports. I think, football has definitely felt that kids just going out and running around in a field with a football has kind of gone away. And everything is so organized and so programmed. And it's such a big part for so many families, but it's not like you're getting a mass audience who all experience baseball the same way. And I think that's hard. But again, like if you don't love it, how do you shoot it, right? Like if you don't love baseball, if you haven't followed baseball, how would you know where to put the camera?
And the whole point of some of this production stuff is so that they're trying to get a younger audience, if I'm not mistaken, is they're trying to get the attention of the younger audience. But I feel like even with stuff like we mentioned, the robot umpires and stuff, like I feel like the younger generation is so against AI and technology like that. Those are all errors that are not going to be good for the sport. And I don't know, just my thoughts.
No, I think that's right. I think, with the robot umpire, any player now can call a review of a pitch. So if somebody throws a pitch and the umpire calls it as a ball, and the player can say, no, I want to look at that. And then they go to the, robot umpire who says, no, it was actually a strike. And I just think it takes some of the grittiness out of it, right? Like it used to be this kind of gritty thing and guys chewing tobacco and spitting on the field and all this kind of, fights with the umpires. And, it used to be different. I sound super old when I say that. Oh my gosh. When I was a kid, it used to be different.
It all starts hitting us. We all say that sentence.
But it really,
at some point.
it really is. It feels like a different sport than it used to be. It doesn't have the same kind of following the players, the baseball cards.
Yeah.
all of that kind of stuff that used to kind of exist around it is less popular now. And
oh man, Tobin, I think you're making some really good points. Yeah, I would 100% agree. And I would actually say that, this commissioner has vocally been saying, we're going to try to do the pitch clock thing. We're going to institute this review process thing. We're going to make the game move faster. We're going to make the game more efficient. But I actually think that what people loved about baseball was the kick back and watch it unfold and watch some guys throw a ball and maybe get in a fight with the umpire kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I have to wonder if making baseball sleek and glamorous will sort of backfire what the audience they're trying to attract. It seems possible.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess the way I would look at it is it used to be, that it was this very human experience, and it was very messy. I mean, it's it's not as polished and homogenized as it is now. And I think the idea of we're going to make it faster. Well, does that make it better?
I know there's something really nice about.
What's the point? Is it people have such a short attention span that you have to take 15 seconds off every pitch in order to make the game move more quickly? I don't know if that's why people loved it.
No, you want to sit at the baseball field for the whole day.
Yeah,
and it drags on, and that there was something special about having
man,
those
I want a
conversations.
sunburn. Sunburn or nothing.
Yeah.
I want to sit there and I want to be baked by the end.
It's like that.
Absolutely.
It's like that kind of, we talk about this windshield time that we have as parents with kids where you're kind of doing something else, but also getting to connect with your teenager. I think, baseball or sports in that way can be like that, where you can just sit there for a whole day with your kid and talk about everything while watching the game.
And eat a hot dog.
And eat a hot dog. And now, it becoming, like you said, sleep.
I would be interested to hear what you guys think just about the idea of sports like that and so many other areas. Money is a driving factor, and people want to be relevant to a young generation. Mm-hmm. And in trying to be relevant to a young generation, what are we missing? It's not like kids won't watch baseball if there's not a pitch clock, right?
Yeah.
If there's not a robot umpire. And so I feel like so many traditional medias are we got to appeal to young people. And the average, time on YouTube is 30 seconds. So we've got to make something happen in 30 seconds. What a bummer. What a bummer. And then obviously, God bless T-Mobile for trying to make money off of the pink baseball, right?
It's crazy. Kate, what would you say would be a good conversation starter if a teen were to want to, or a parent would want to talk with their teen about this? Where would you go?
I would kind of tag off some of Tobin's points and ask what makes a sports event worth watching. What makes it interesting? What makes it fun?
I love that.
Hey, I'm Bree. I just wanted to pop in and say that today's episode is made possible thanks to The Table. That's our amazing community of monthly givers who make sure that Access resources stay free for families everywhere. So if your family's been impacted by what Access does and you want to pass that on to other families, I'd love to invite you to join us at The Table. Head to www.access.org/thetable and join us today.
Finally, the me preparing for my Netflix documentary trend is taking over TikTok and Instagram, going so viral that Netflix itself has responded. The trend is pretty simple to participate in. You sit in a chair and you adjust your lapel mic, and it can be like a stand-in lapel mic. People use silly things. And then you adopt this posture like you're getting ready to, share the tea. And there's this frenetic violin music that plays in the background that's your typical documentary. And then people have the most crazy reels. Have you guys been seeing any of this? It's been all over my algorithm.
So funny.
Yeah. Kay, have you seen any that you thought was particularly fun?
Yes, I saw a couple. I mean, of course, the first thing you think of is what would be the Netflix documentary that I would be in?
Right.
You know what I mean? You think about your past experience, the weird stuff that you've seen, maybe the bad place you worked, or the bad person you knew, or something like that. But yeah, I saw a couple. I saw someone who I used to follow a lot on a fitness platform sit down and make one that was like me preparing for the Netflix documentary about that one fitness platform where I used to work. And I was like,
Okay.
yeah.
oh, okay.
Wow.
Okay. So I think that there's probably a little bit of that going around where people are, sort of hinting like, hey, Netflix, really call me.
Yeah, like there's like this passive aggressive, funny way to share the tea without actually.
I think
sharing
it's
the
funny
tea.
because it's so prevalent. I mean, like literally everything is a documentary anymore.
That's real.
That's
Yeah.
and so I think the reason it becomes a TikTok thing or whatever is because everybody's doing documentaries. Some people do them about themselves. Some people, I mean, in our house, it's all the crime stuff, right? Like all of the kind of crime or murder documentaries, or like even to the point where Jamie's watching like live court, of a trial.
Who hasn't done that?
And so I feel like everything's getting documentaried. That's
like
not a
it.
word, but
that's so real.
I'm gonna use it.
Yes, it's going to be a word next
be-
year's
Documentary.
Cambridge Word
I'm
of the Year.
claiming it.
Documentary.
That should be your
Yeah.
No, but it feels like that's in the desperate attempt to continue to create content, sensationalizing normal stuff is a way to get there, right? Like, hey,
Yeah.
it's just an average, it's just an average day, and I've got to turn this into something. So I'm gonna use the music and use the
It's
you
so
know,
effective.
in order to make it into content. That's my deal. It's like content drives it all. Everybody wants to create content, and a documentary is just another way to do it.
I saw this fun one that I had to repost. My kids have given me a hard time their whole lives because when they were little, I didn't let them watch SpongeBob. Like this was just like, I don't know. I was like, SpongeBob has a bad attitude. You can't watch him. And so they've held it against me their whole lives. And I saw this one where it's like somebody that sits down. It's like being a child of a parent that didn't let you watch SpongeBob growing up. And it's like the violence. And I just think it's so funny. And people have like videos of their pets where it's like my pet tells a story of when she was kidnapped at 9 weeks old from her home or something. And I just think they can be really silly. They can be passive aggressive. There are some times where I just really love the internet.
But I think, I mean, I may be wrong, but it's all about drama, right? Like it's funny, but it's presented in a dramatic way.
Yeah.
And it's like, what does that say about culture that like, we're going to push for drama, right? It can't just be, oh, I bought a dog. No, my dog was kidnapped at 9 weeks old from its happy home on the farm where, it's like, really, do we need more drama? Do we?
We love the drama in this day and age.
I mean, did you guys, I don't know if you felt the same way. I was doing some research and I guess Netflix, they're having a lot of trouble getting people to tune in to the second seasons of stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's because they take like 2 years to get the
Right.
second season out of things.
Yeah.
This probably goes back to their production workflows that we were talking about earlier. But the thing that they have gotten really good at doing is finding documentaries to distribute. That's been something that time after time the viewers return to. And I think because of that, I've noticed this compressed timeline when things will be decided in court and it feels like 2 weeks later there's a documentary about the whole case. It just seems like anything can be turned into a documentary right now, kind of to your point, Tobin. And it makes me wonder, are real journalists actually pursuing these leads and taking part in these documentaries? Or is it just kind of like random people who happen to be around?
Kate, that is a great point. Speed to market is a big thing, right? Like when you have to wait 2 years for the next episode of Yellowstone to come out,
Oh my gosh.
people are going to lose interest.
Yeah.
But literally, I mean, being able to capture, and part of it is there's cameras everywhere, there's sound everywhere, there's people are able to capture that stuff, but there's an immediacy to it. And one of the things I've been wondering about is one of the reasons documentaries are working is because it's real
I was
versus
just
fictional,
about to ask that. Do you think
right? And there's this extra buzz around like, oh my gosh, this guy's really going to jail, right? Or this person was really harmed, or this, and it's real and it's visceral and it feels urgent, and something that's written as basically a piece of fiction doesn't carry that same impact, right?
Right. Yeah, because you can do that suspension of disbelief, but you know you're not watching a real story. It's a totally different thing when you are watching, I don't know, there was this big thing about a doctor murdering or trying to murder his wife in Hawaii, and it was just like
I saw that one.
everybody was talking about it, and
But there's a moment at the end of all of those where the prosecuted person stands up and the judge reads the jury's decision, and there's like this hit from that of like, okay, this is real. Mm-hmm. Like at the end of Yellowstone, everybody's just going back to their trailer, and then they're going to get some catering, and then they're going to. Yeah. This guy literally is going to prison for the rest of his life.
And you get to watch that happen on their
in
faces
in
real time. I wonder what our curiosity is about when it comes to like seeing people experience life in real time. It's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's compelling, right? I think people are drawn into that. And if you look at, I mean, could you even consider so many of the videos on TikTok are just 30-second, 60-second documentaries? It's me capturing a moment in time that's real, right? It's not fictionalized. Sometimes it is, obviously. But it's like, I think there's a desire for that real human experience and interaction. And then to Kate's point, you mix that with being able to bring something out 2 weeks after it happens, and it feels timely and relevant and urgent, and everybody wants to see it. And there's that sense of like, if I don't see this, I'm missing out. And I think that's why it's become so prevalent. And I understand it. Doesn't mean I don't love, watching a good show that's been well produced. But the immediate hit that you get from some of this documentary footage is unmatchable.
I was going to say it's like instant justice, right? Yeah. Like you see something, you see the crime, you see the villain, and then justice happens immediately. And I wondered about this trend as we were writing Culture Translator this week, if it's kind of like we all want to be part of that. We all want to imagine that we would be the person who would just sit there and confirm every evil thing about the perpetrator that all of us are wondering, right? Mm-hmm. And I do think that true crime documentaries in particular, but like maybe just documentaries as a whole, it comes from this desire to see justice done on earth. Mm-hmm. And that's a really interesting thing to talk about with your family.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that.
I think, Kate, to your point about justice, that's really, really interesting. A cool conversation with the kid could be like, why do we as humans long for justice? Right? Like if that guy in that case gets exonerated and he's not convicted, that feels less satisfying than justice being served, right?
I think it's also partially we like to be a part of the story, like maybe more so in like the crime stuff and the juries. Like we want to build up our own case and we want to get to decide like I think he did this or that. And
well, you think about the fact if you look at our system of justice, you can be on a jury, like you can find yourself in that position. I will never ride a horse across the plains in Montana, right? So there's a suspension of disbelief that has to happen because of that. Like I will never get to do that thing, but I could serve on a jury. I could be the neighbor of a person that commits a heinous crime. I could be, and there's that sense of like, that's a real life experience that I could potentially have as a viewer or as a person. Whereas Stranger Things, I'm never gonna experience anything like that. That's not real, or Yellowstone or whatever. But I think there is that sense of like, I could be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it feels more tangible, more realistic because I could experience that in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So restate again. What would your conversation be?
Why do we long for justice? And the great thing is it leans into such a cool conversation about the person of Jesus, who was ultimately all about justice, right?
Yeah.
And taking care of widows and orphans and serving the poor. And I mean, just the justice that was served in his time on earth that he meted out to people who were suffering and who were disadvantaged. Like there was justice in that. And so the opportunity to say, why do we think justice is a big deal? Like, why does it feel good when we see justice happen? And being able to tie that back to the ultimate justice happened when Jesus served and walked the earth and did what he did.
I love that. Yeah, that's great.
That's really beautiful.
Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of The Roundtable. On your way out, here is a quick survey of some of the rest of the cultural landscape. A parasite that causes extreme digestive upset is maybe the meme of the week alongside Netflix documentaries. It certainly doesn't help that it's possibly connected to Taco Bell. Aren't we shocked, guys? I'm not shocked. Christopher Nolan's film, The Odyssey, is out in theaters this weekend. We'll write more about that next week for sure. But for now, the R-rated take on Homer's epic poem is reviewing quite well with the critics and audiences. Letterboxd has opened itself to being purchased. It's Gen Z's movie review app of choice, and considering how Gen Z showed up to the theaters this year, it's pretty valuable to buyers like Netflix and Sony to understand the preferences of young people. I think that's really interesting. Meta rolled out a feature that effectively lets you use their AI tools to deepfake users with public accounts. It was promptly rolled back after the internet, rightly so, freaked out. Assassin's Creed is back. Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced, a remake of Assassin's Creed Black Flag, sold 2 million copies in its first day.
Wow.
That's pretty
That's a lot
And it
of
was
copies.
probably just like a digital QR code.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I miss the hard games, hard copy games. Let me have my whole wall full of video games.
I love it.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much for watching. This podcast is made possible because of our generous donor community, The Table. To help us support more parents and other caring adults through culture translation, we'd love to invite you to check out The Table by clicking right here. Also, if you've been impacted by what we do, would you consider letting us know with a like, comment, and/or subscription, as well as sharing this episode with someone you think could benefit? Thanks for caring about having intentional conversations with the next generation.